The Artist's Toolkit, a training program for the artistic process, problems, background, and exercises.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of The Artist's Toolkit by and with Kaethe Wenzel. Today is about a classical problem of creative work. It's about being in the mood. You know, very often the first years, especially the first years, come to my class, and when I ask them, so what did you do? I hear, oh, well, nothing really, because I wasn't in the mood. I can't work creatively when I'm not in the mood. And then I have to take a deep breath and yes, I know what they mean. But also, no, this is also very much a beginner's mistake. And when I look at that, I think, yeah, this is the difference between professionals and amateurs. And then I have to take a step back and slap myself on the hand because it's unfair, it's totally judgmental, it's arrogant, and this is no way to treat beginners because they're my students and they come to me because they want to learn stuff. So I take a deep breath and then I can say, yeah, I know what you mean and I do. And the good news is you needn't sit around waiting for inspiration. I know it's easier to wait and to just grab the moment when you feel you're in the flow and it works. But A, you can do it without it. Just keep working, you'll get in there, you get into the process. B, inspiration can be trained.
The Artist's Toolkit.
Inspiration is a question of training. Like, so much of art is really like sports. I know some people will be horrified at hearing that, but in my experience, it really is. So much is just training. Question is how? And as always, that's the best and important question. How does that work? For example, why do we always have the best ideas while having a shower or riding the bus or while vacuuming the flat? It sounds like a joke, but it is so, and you will know that it is so. And actually, there is scientific evidence that this happens not only to you and to me, but it's like that for most people. There is evidence that mechanical, monotonous activities make our brain free for inspiration, for epiphanies. And I know it sounds like a contradiction, sounds like a luxury problem. People working at the assembly line don't have that. Why? Okay, this is connected to the way our brains work. We've already mentioned that. Our brain consists of two halves and a connecting part in the middle. You know that? It works crosswise. Like the left half of the brain is connected to the right hand. The right half of the brain is connected to your left hand. And the way our dominant hand in our culture is the right hand, a bit like that, it works also with the brain. The left half of the brain that is connected to the right hand is something like the big organizer or also the big dictator. The left half of the brain is the manager that knows everything, that knows how to get stuff done, that knows about time. It knows what an exam is. It gets things organized. It knows what grades are all about, and it knows its stuff, but it can also be really boring and a bit tyrannical. And the left half of the brain is also sometimes the one that enjoys being critical and saying stuff like, yeah, what's that all about, what you're doing here? There is no aim to this. What's going to be the result? Come on, we want to see results. Or, what are you thinking you're doing? You have no idea what you're doing. Please drop it. So, the left half of the brain is also a critic. And the left half of the brain, for example, is not somebody who enjoys artistic work very much. Because a lot of artistic work is an open process. And we don't know what's going to happen in the end. And it may not be leading anywhere. And you just sit there and you just need to get into things and meditate about things. And that's stressful for the left half of the brain. And because it's stressful for it starts giving us aggravation. Typical situation, you know it all. You sit down with a sketchbook or whatever to, get a little into creative work. And very soon, you have this little voice in your head saying, Why are you sitting here? Don't you have anything important to do? The plates aren't clean. You need to do the dishes. The apartment looks like shit. You need to call your professor and your tutor and get stuff done. The car needs to be repaired, and you need to read about 120 books and write 50. And when was the last time you cut your toenails anyway? So this isn't working. And this is kind of the organizational level. And of course, it's all true. All of us, we have a lot to do and we have a lot of stuff to organize all of the time. And that's why, in a way, the left half of the brain is dominant most of the time, because we need it so much. We rely on it so much most of the time. And that is why it's sometimes difficult to get out of organizing mode, like organizing your studies, organizing school, organizing the everyday life. And to get into this other mode of thinking that allows us to be creative. Please mark it in red.
The Artist's Toolkit.
Our problem when working creatively in many ways is neurological. It is also a sports problem, because the basis of working creatively, I'm not reading about concept and organization, that all comes later. But the very basis, having ideas, developing stuff, drawing, putting stuff together, make collages, whatever. The basis for this is done with the right half of the brain. And we do this with a part of our body that we don't use for the rest of the stuff in our life. So the problem is how to get from left to right. When you want to work creatively, when you want to get to your ideas, the question is always how to get from left to right. And this is what you need. You need techniques that will help you to get from left to right. And it takes a moment, because the blood in your brain actually has to move. It's a physical process. Even if you manage to say, okay, fuck the organization and duty, all of this needs to wait now, I'm concentrating on this. Still, it will simply take a moment until you have physically moved the blood in your brain from the left to the right. You need to give this a little time. You can feel it, actually. You can feel this kind of switching. And it takes effort. You have to train it. And that's why I'm always talking and going on about sports. So important. Rule number 1. A. How do I get from left to right? B. Take a little time. Takes a moment. It costs a certain amount of effort. You need to train it. Practice. Practice. See? This is the kind of work you have to put in here. That's different from studying other subjects, But this is what we do here. And this is the effort that we have to bring in here. And that's why I'm asking you, please, 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 never come to me and tell me I didn't do my art homework because I had to study mathematics. Or I had to do the dishes. Or please don't. Tell me anything, but not that something else was more important than what we're doing here. Please, please. Luckily, there has been done a lot of research, and there is a lot of knowledge about how to get from the left to the right half of the brain. And there are lots of tips about this. But for everyone, every single one of you, you will find out what works specifically, individually for you. That is something that you need to find out on your own. But I promise you that then you will have something that will work well for you all of your life. And in order to get there, you need to shut up 2 voices. Firstly, that one voice that keeps telling you, there's so much to do, you can't sit around here. And second, the other voice that normally pipes up as soon as you put a pen to paper or try to do the first cut or touch your toolbox, and that says, man, that looks shitty. You don't know how to do shit. You can't do this. We'll get to that too later. So, for now, your task is to find out which kind of activity helps you personally to get from the left to the right half of the brain, so that you can more easily invite inspiration and get into the flow of artistic work. and so that you don't get stuck in your household duties or some other kind of homework, whatever. Brain research says that monotonous activities, mechanical stuff, is normally good to activate the right half of the brain. Movement is good, and activities with a limited motoric and intellectual level. Some, but not too much. I'll explain you why. So, some of these activities, for example, are driving a car, riding a bus, riding a streetcar, riding a bike. This kind of movement, this kind of taking in a lot while we're moving. This often helps to level our brain energies and to help activity in the right half of the brain. I'm sure you know that. I'm sure lots of you have already had brilliant ideas while running, or please take note of this. Or, for example, do you have good ideas on the bus? Do you have good ideas when you're out running or swimming or walking? I used to have a student a few years ago, and it was always clear when she got stuck. Julia, if you get stuck, take the dog, go out. And then she always came up with a solution. That dog was her muse. It was a great dog. So, A, movement with wheels, but also on your feet. B, mechanical activities. Because sometimes that kind of knocks out the left half of the brain. Stuff like cleaning, doing the dishes, but also handicraft, stuff like knitting, sewing, embroidery, sanding stuff, these repetitive movements, and where you have to concentrate a little but not too much. Theory says or assumes that the left half of the brain is kind of busy with this and content. And then the rest of your brain finally gets some space and gets a word in, if you want to put it that way. So, movement, monotonous activities, there are enough of those that want to be done, and then of course sports.
The Artist's Toolkit.
Sports. If you don't feel like sports, the big classic is of course have a shower. Have a shower, sing in the shower, dance. Dancing of course is excellent. And what else is excellent? What always helps, of course, is meditation. So for those of you who have a meditation practice, you know this moment, you can feel it. This moment when your brain gets into balance, when you're not so tense anymore, and when the brain is not so out of balance anymore, but you know this moment. When meditating, there is this moment when everything clicks into place and suddenly there is this calm and everything is in the balance and you can feel it. And of course, this also helps, for example, with drawings. Please look at the moments when you have this. It's like a very slight headache, a little movement in your head, also when drawing. And afterwards, you're in. Afterwards, it flows. It's not so easy. You really have to practice it. And the more often you do it, the easier it becomes, of course. And please remember this aspect of tricking your left side of the brain. I still do this when I want to draw or have to, and I'm just too tense. I can't do it. So I can't get into it, and then my line is totally stiff, and I can just throw it all out. And what I do is I watch a movie and I draw while watching the movie. That's something that basically shouldn't be telling anyone because it's totally unprofessional and it can't be done. But everything that works is allowed. So please find the methods that work for you. You now have these 3 pointers. 3 pointers. Look at them. Movement, monotonous activities, and something like sports, having a shower, dancing, movement, meditation. Of course, what works for a lot of people also is having a smoke. I don't recommend it, of course, but everyone has to find out their own techniques. That's actually your job.
Exercise.
So, until the next session, I'm asking you, exercises. Please take note. Which activities help you to have ideas, to get in a mood of inspiration? And this connects with the job of the sketchbook. But it is also about these moments of attention. Please take note when these inspirational moments, this electricity, these dang moments, when they happen, when you think, this is exciting. When does this kind of thing happen? What kind of situation? When do you notice things that are visually exciting for you? Collect them. Having a shower, cleaning your shoes, riding the bus, whatever. And I want you to collect these moments and make a list so that you can go back to this list when you need it. Also, exercise until next time is always the sketchbook, every day 1 page. Also, please collect the techniques that may help you to get into the right mood, into the right atmosphere in which you can work creatively or just have ideas. Make a list. It doesn't have to be definite. It is an open list. You can change it 100 times. It can keep growing indefinitely. You can throw stuff out when it doesn't work. So take your time, find out, make a list, and I promise you, you'll benefit from this for the rest of your life. So this is your assignment. This is homework. It's serious. Also, there is some recommended reading for this session. One is an all-time classic, actually first published in 1979, still worth reading. It's by Betty Edwards, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, a course in enhancing creativity and artistic confidence, expanded and updated. Tarcha Perigi Publishing House, New York, 2012. That's the latest edition. Please check chapter 3. And another point of recommended reading is The Guerrilla Girls Bedside Companion to the History of Western Art. New York, London, Victoria, Toronto, Auckland, 1998.
The Artist's Toolkit. Conceptualized and presented by Kaethe Wenzel. Assistance, Nadja Driller. A project by European University Flensburg.